Yo, guys, Tom Wenning here, back again with another one of these videos. This one, I have Patrick here with me. We're going to talk all things mindset and all of that juicy stuff because it's very important as an entrepreneur coming into the space, especially online, to get your mindset right, to get your business right. And so, super important. Thank you for jumping on, Patrick. Appreciate having you here, man.
Yeah, happy to be here, man. And definitely one of my favorite topics is something I've been focusing on for a while. So I think we're gonna have some good value nuggets dropped in this call for sure. Lots of things around mindset and spirituality. So big time looking
Definitely,
forward.
man. Definitely. So let's jump into it, right? Let's get straight into the skip the fluff and get straight into it. So in terms of mindset, I guess this is a good question to ask you. What have you
Mhm.
found to be the number one struggle that you see a lot of people in this entrepreneur space struggling with in terms of mindset?
Yeah. So I think when you start as an entrepreneur, you're always gonna come up with tons of challenges, and you have to. I think the thing that people struggle the most with is they base their mindset on their external circumstances, or they kind of get caught up in what's happening around them, and they forget that you're actually the one that's generating your perspective, your reality, and in turn, you're actually creating your results. So yeah, you're going to have challenges where you're not getting calls or where there's no money coming in and all this stuff. But what I recommend everyone is to always see your preference and ignore the circumstances. They're always going to be there and you can choose how to interpret them. And I think that's the biggest thing for people to realize and to remember is that you choose how you see things. You don't always get to choose the circumstances, but you can choose the way you look at them because there's always a plus and a minus to everything. So you can pick. And when you do
Exactly.
that, changes actually your results over time.
I love that, man. That's like it's so aligned, right? Another thing as
Mhm.
well with that is also you choose how you react, right? Not just how
Yeah.
you see things, but also how you react to things. I think that's so important as well. Like say for example, you have an email campaign that completely flops, get no leads from it, and you're just like totally bummed out, right? You have the
Mhm.
choice to act bummed out, or you can act in another way, right? You can be like, hey, well, what did I learn from this? Or what can I do
Exactly.
now to try something else, right? And you have that
Mhm.
choice to like choose how you react. So I think a lot of us underestimate how much power we have, right? How much control we actually have over what goes into that. But I think a lot of people get caught up in those like limiting beliefs and those fears. So let's talk about some of those. Like, what are some of those big like limiting beliefs and fears that you see floating around all the time? And how do you kind of battle some of those?
Yeah, it's like a lot of those limiting beliefs are I'm not good enough, or I don't have enough money, or this is too hard, or maybe this isn't right for me. And I what I always recommend when these kind of things come up is actually to like surrender to them completely, like their thoughts. And what I've learned is that you can't fight a thought on its own level. It's always going to be right in its world. So like actually agree with the thought. If you have this thought that comes up that says I'm not good enough, just sit down for a moment and allow yourself to just feel that emotion of just not being good enough instead of like what most people do is they'll try to ignore it or they'll try to overcompensate to try to prove themselves wrong. Is just let it sit there and feel the emotion of whatever that limiting belief is coming up, and then just become really present and then just move with it anyways. And it's better than just fighting it because you're never going to really win with these thoughts
Yeah.
because they're going to be there. And think about maybe what is the value that this limiting belief is giving to me. Like if you have a belief, it's always because there's some kind of intrinsic value that you either subconsciously or consciously placed upon it. So if you're saying, just like to use the example of not being good enough, if you have that belief, then think, what is this belief actually doing to serve me? It's possibly making you, it's serving you in the way so that you act in a way to counteract that. It's saying, hey, you're not good enough, you better do more. And so that's what it's kind of serving for you. But then if you kind of realize and you sit down in presence and you realize that you are powerful and you are a person who has the ability to change everything, and you're pretty much limitless, then you ask yourself, is this belief really true and is it really still serving me? And if it's not, then just tell it thank you for serving me, but I don't need you anymore. And then just keep going back to that space. And that's kind of how you deal with limiting beliefs. And that's mostly what I do with my clients is we just go on this process of identifying what's the value for it, agree with it so you can let it come up, bring in your presence, and then bring in this sense of power, and then really allowing that contrast of you being powerful in this belief so you can look at it and be like, oh, maybe this belief isn't helping me anymore. Maybe when I look at it from my place of presence my place of power, then that contrast is going to make this belief look silly, and I can actually just drop it in that moment.
Yeah, definitely. That's such a powerful technique, like coming back to the present. I feel like a lot of us miss that, it's so easy to get caught up in the whirlwind that is life and what's happening around you. And you forget to be more present and be in the moment, right? Because there's so much future pacing, especially in business, with like, hey, these are my goals. I want to aim for these goals. And you're so focused on that you forget that like you got to focus on the now as well. And that's so
Yeah.
important, especially for like getting that mindset right. But I think again with mindset as well, it's not like a one size fits all thing. I feel like all of us still slip up all the time. No one's perfect. No one's got it
Myself.
absolutely mastered. It's super difficult, right? And so I think it's also giving some permission to yourself to have those moments of limiting beliefs, right? And letting them be, as you said, like just accepting them for what they are, right? They're a thought, they're valid, they're still there. You're thinking it. So just accept that for being there. It's serving you in some way. And then if it isn't, you can move on and start to form those new beliefs that really kind of help you. So yeah, man, I love that. That's like super powerful. Yeah, I think with limiting beliefs, it's really one of the biggest, like most rampant things that a lot of people just don't want to talk about because it's vulnerable, right? It's vulnerable to admit you have any limiting beliefs around things. And, especially with like things like imposter syndrome and stuff like that, that's something like not a lot of people want to talk about because they think it's going to affect their marketing. And, people might not look at them the same and then people might not want to buy from them. And so how can we have more of those conversations, do you think, around mindset and making it become more normalized in this space, do you think?
Yeah, well, we just have to become more okay with vulnerability, and I think actually it's going to be even better as a coach or as an influencer when you're able to be vulnerable like that. Because I mean, I've seen lots of coaches, and they put up this front of being like, the untouchable guy, he has no problems and everything like that. Well, that's not somebody that I would really want to hire because, like, it doesn't seem like he would understand me. And I've realized this myself when I've made it posts or videos talking about my most vulnerable moments, like times when I was like literally digging like weed crumbs out of my carpet in desperation to ease my anxiety, or when I got locked up in a jail cell for having like drugs on me and things like that. Those were the most engaging posts I ever had. And
Mm,
from one perspective, you can see like, oh my God, people are going to think like, I've got problems, or they're not going to want to talk to me. But in reality, people see that and they're like, wow, like I see myself in him because I'm not perfect either, but he seems to be working through it, and that's actually more engaging. And people just want to see that you're a real person. So I would say, like, if something seems embarrassing to you, then maybe consider sharing it, because the more you are vulnerable, the more you actually become accepting of yourself, because those parts are always within you. And if you're
yeah,
hiding them, you're pretending. So you want to be yourself. Otherwise, you're going to be pretending the whole time. So if you don't like something about yourself, let people know, man. Nothing bad's going to happen. And
that's
if people
it.
don't like it, they're not for you anyways.
That's right, man. You just got to be your authentic self. I think that's so important
Mhm.
especially like, with social media and stuff, we all put on this front, right? We all do it. Like, let's just admit, we all do it. We all always post like our wins and our best stuff. And it's like so
Mhm.
hard to post those failures. I actually made a video on this the other day and that got a ton of engagement. Like the video was basically saying, should people post more failures rather than just wins? And a lot of people are saying yes, but it can affect like how people perceive them. And I
Mhm.
agree to some extent, but I do think that by being vulnerable, it's more authentic and it also creates a better connection with your audience, right? Because it shows you're human and you fail and everyone goes through that stuff. And I think that's a much better level to be on. It's just being authentic, being real, like not being scared to share those things. And it also doesn't, it
Yeah.
means that you don't have to put a filter on, right? I think that's
Mhm.
another benefit to that. But yeah, I think that's definitely an important thing to do is to share that stuff and be vulnerable. Because again, if you have no one to talk about with that stuff, it can get like built up in you, right? And I'm sure you've experienced that as well, like especially with a lot of failures and stuff you go through. You're starting something, you're gonna go through that struggle, and it's like if you have no one to talk to or no outlet for that, it's very difficult to like find the solutions you need and like talk those solutions through. And so I think the support systems are definitely important as well, whether that's posting on social media or you have a close network or your friends you talk to about this stuff. That's definitely important as well. And that certainly helps on the mindset journey as well. But one thing I want to talk about now is because this is what really kind of drew me to your page and like what you do around the group stuff and all of that with mindset is that you kind of tie the spirituality side of things into it, which I
Yeah.
see not many people doing, which is quite interesting, right? It's all this like kind of Tony Robbins-ish kind of mindset stuff. That's you kind of see that rampant everywhere, but there's none of this like kind of spiritual combination with the mindset stuff. And that's what I really like that you're doing is that like mixture of the two, because I think they're so important, right? A lot of people aren't really spiritual entrepreneurs. And I think it's super fascinating because you get so much awareness and you unlock so much more potential with your mind that a lot of people just don't have access to. So maybe we can talk a little bit about that spiritual side of things, because I know that's something you're passionate about and it's definitely very interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. So like the reason why I want to tie it like that is because like you said, I feel like there's too many people that are way one second, way too far like on the spiritual side or way too far on just the physical side of just with the things, the results and everything like that. But like I the way I see myself honestly is that I'm a very spiritual person, but I'm also a human being. I want things, you know, like and I'm
Yeah.
not going to just ignore that, you know. I want a fulfilled life. I want nice things in my life, but at the same time, I want to be like fulfilled without them. And so I don't think that it's healthy. Well, maybe it could be healthy if you like this, but to just be the kind of person who lives completely minimalist and they say all I need is God and everything's fine. God will provide me my food in my nice house and I don't need anything, and they just sit down and manifest all day or something like that. I don't really agree with that mindset. I mean, there might be some people where that works for them and more power to them, but you know, I like to use both worlds. You know, I like to make them combine. So you're becoming very much more aware, and so that brings you clarity of how to manifest the things that you want in your life, and then you can use that clarity to move forward and build a life that you want, and you can live a fulfilled physical life on this world, but you can always take a step back. And like when things aren't going your way, you can take a step back and say like, I actually don't need anything, so I need to stop
Mm.
worrying about this. I need to stop this anxiety, because everything is actually fulfilled to me. I'm a creator and everything is given to me, so there's no need for this stress and worry. But then when you have that clarity, you can say, okay, but I do want to make this happen, so from this place of clarity, I'm going to go put in the work. And it's not this really heavy like lack based work. It's more of, it comes from a place of inspiration and a place of already abundance. It's as if,
Mm.
like, personally, I don't believe in lack. I don't think lack is a true thing. I think it's just not in your perception. So like if I put a hat on your head, you would say I have a hat. But if I take it off your head and put it behind my back, many people would say I'm lacking a hat. But I would say no, it's just not within your reality at this moment, and you can bring that up. You're not truly lacking it. Nothing is truly lacking, because we always have the
Mm.
ability to bring new things in. So I think that's why it's important to balance those two worlds out, and then you can really live a fulfilled life.
Man, that's powerful, dude. Like with the, especially with lack, like that's we always live in that place of lack. You know, I see a lot of people just stuck there where it's, oh crap, I don't have the $10,000 business. And then their goal just keeps on getting further and further away from them, right? It's like, well, okay, I have a $10,000 business now. Now I don't have the $20,000 business. And it's like it keeps on pushing
Mhm.
that threshold further. And it's that constant progression and constant hustle, you know, where you're stuck in that cycle of always pushing for more and always thinking you need more. Whereas if you can combine that spiritual side of things where you don't feel like you have any lack, it's like it's content, right? You feel satisfied, you feel peaceful, you feel calm, you feel at ease all the time because you know that you have everything you need right now in this moment. That's powerful, very powerful place to be. And especially
Mhm.
operating a business. I was talking to someone today actually about this, is like getting into flow, right? Building this
Mhm.
thing from a place of flow where you're not trying to force it because you need it
Yeah.
or because you want it or because you're trying to get this outcome or anything. It's because you're building it from a place of inspiration and you're flowing in with that. And so that's a beautiful place to build a business from. And it's hard to tap into that. So any tips around that with like tapping into flow states and getting aligned with where you want to go and inspired, like how you get to that point? Because again, like we're all going to drop off, we're going to have off days and stuff, but like majority of the time, how do you kind of get into that flow state and that very aligned state with like where you want to go and what you want to be doing?
Absolutely. So one thing I teach my clients is to always see your preference and feel your preference. So for the longest time, especially with this business I was doing, I was seeing very little results because when I was making a post or when I was engaging with people in my audience looking for prospects and things like that, I was doing it from this place of need or lack because I was like, I need to get this to work. I put so much time and effort in this. It needs to happen. And I realized that I was sending out this vibration of lack, and I was getting that back. So I was actually creating. So it was, like I said, it wasn't lack, it was an abundance of the lacking feeling. So it's actually abundance disguised as lack. So what I always teach my clients is to see your preference. So how would you feel right now if everything was actually working out for you? How would you feel right now if you had an abundance of clients? How would you feel if this was all just like a sign that everything's going the right direction? Bring that feeling into the present moment and then do your work from there. So you see, as soon as I started doing that, I started getting more engagement. I started signing people up. I started getting calls. And that's the best thing you can do. Just feel it in the moment because the feeling state changes everything. And don't allow your circumstances to dictate your feeling state, because maybe that guy doesn't message you back, maybe nobody likes your post, maybe nobody joins your Zoom call, but choose to feel that everything's working out. And that's not denying the present moment, you're still aware of what's happening, but you're constantly consistently sending out the vibration of abundance that you want instead of sitting in the wrong vibration, because when you're saying I don't have enough, you're always going to get more of that. So you can always choose to interpret events differently. So I would say always choose to see your preference.
Yeah, I love that. And then it's also just like with things that aren't working out, it's like they just haven't happened yet, right? In my reality. You know, it feels like
Yeah.
they've happened. I'm acting like from that feeling, but like they just haven't happened and shown me it yet, right? And it's like I'm sure you've probably heard this before as well from like, you know, all of the people you listen to who talk about the spiritual stuff. It's they talk about like the delay, you know, the delay time between the feelings and that like that proper manifestation in your mind to it actually becoming reality, right? And there's like that
Mhm.
delay between that. And so keeping that in mind as well is like when you start to really tap into that feeling of like what you want and it's starting to manifest, it's that delay between when you start doing that and when it actually appears in front of you and being patient with that. I think all of us struggle so much with patience. I mean, we live in such a fast-paced society now, like, you know, next day delivery and all this other stuff so fast.
Yeah.
It's
Prime
that
now.
we're living so short term that we can't be patient with things anymore, and that's really difficult, especially when it comes to manifestation and stuff like that. It's actually interesting. Let's talk about that, right? Because I feel like a lot of people they totally write off manifestation from the get go, just from hearing the word, right? People will probably
Yeah.
turn this off right now just by hearing the word manifestation because it's one of those buzzwords where it's been like thrown around so many times in different places that people just don't trust it anymore and they don't believe that it's something that actually works. And so let's
Yeah.
talk about that a little bit more in terms of manifestation. What does that kind of look like to you? I know you've already kind of mentioned a couple of things with like, you know,
Mhm.
feeling in the now and getting tapping into that feeling so you can think correctly and act in the right ways. But what would you say is like the biggest things for people to keep in mind around manifestation?
Yeah. So, like I said about seeing a preference, that's a really good way of manifesting what you want. But one mistake that a lot of people make when they're doing that is they begin seeing their preference, but they do it out of lack. They do it. They're like, I'm going to
Mm,
see my preference because I don't have it right now and I want it right away. You have to do it just simply for the feeling state, not because you want some things to happen. You do it because you want to feel that way. So, how would I feel if I have this right now? And then you only do it for the feeling state. You don't do it because you're trying to get this to work or because you want this to happen. Just simply focus on feeling that way and being completely happy with that, because like you said, there's a waiting period usually. Sometimes it's quick, sometimes it's long, you never know. But if you're constantly focused on that waiting period, you're actually focusing on the fact that you don't have it yet. And then you're going
yeah.
to manifest that you don't have it, and then that's going to happen, and then you're going to say this doesn't fucking work and this is bullshit. And then you're going to give up on it, and then you probably be really turned off by the word manifestation, and everything like that, because it has been way overplayed, with things like The Secret and all this other stuff, people saying, think of a green apple 24/7, and then you'll have like one day a green apple will pop into your hand and then you'll know it's true. And like, I don't know, maybe like maybe I'm not a manifestationologist. Maybe that can happen. I don't know. I can only tell you what's happened in my own life. And as soon as I let go of wanting an outcome, then it happened to me. And so that's another thing, is stop wanting things and just begin to have them. And that's what I mean by the feeling state. It's like, can you sit down on a chair and stand up at the same time? No. So what makes you think you can want something and have it at the same time? It doesn't work. As soon as you have something, you don't want it anymore because you have it. So that's the feeling state you want to embody, because the wanting is just not having, and you're going to get more of what you put out always. So if you put out having, and eventually the universe, whatever you want to call it, will align with your feeling state, and then you will be in a reality where you have that.
Man, that is very powerful. I'm gonna just ask you to repeat that last like sentence again, because I think that right there is just that's insane. So yeah, repeat that again, man. That's insane.
So I'll start with, can you sit down on a chair and stand up at the same time? It's not possible. You have to choose one. You're either sitting on the chair or you're standing up. So that's what you really need to focus on. Let go of wanting these things and start having them. So by having them is bringing that feeling state that you would have when you already have it. Because when you get something, you're no longer wanting it because you have it. And so whenever you're putting out a feeling state of wanting, you're putting out a vibration that I don't have it yet. And that doesn't mean that it's coming. You're just saying, I want it. And so you're putting out this vibration of wanting. And then whenever you put out a vibration, it's like a reflection. It comes back to you. So your reality is going to keep filling up with more wanting, more wanting, more wanting. And you're never going to actually get that thing. You're going to be in a loop until you change your vibration. So if you switch your vibration to I have it, so sit in moment and think, what would it feel like right now if I had this in my possession? It was in my hand, whatever it is. What would that feel like to me right now? And bring that feeling state in and feel it, and then make an effort to always feel this whenever you can. Set reminders on your phone, whatever you got to do, it doesn't matter. Just feel that way all the time. You can do this with absolutely anything. And don't do it with the desire of getting that thing. Focus only on the feeling state. I just want to feel like I have it. I don't give a shit if it comes, if it never comes. I just want to feel like I have it right now. And then you'll notice with time, your world will align with your vibration, and then you'll get the thing that you already have it. You feel like you have it. It's going to come to you. And then you're going to notice one day, oh, it's fucking here.
Crazy. That's it. It's crazy how it works, dude. And it's, I mean, a lot of people don't even realize it's happening half the time as well. Like if you actually paid attention, you had awareness around these things, like you would be able to see it happening in your life every single day, right? It happens all the time. Every time you it's like cause and effect, right? Like you have the right feelings, you're going to attract the right things. You have the wrong feelings, you're going to attract the wrong things. And that's like super simple way to break it down, but it's really like that. Really works like that. It's crazy. If you just have the awareness and pay attention to what's going on, you can see it happening in your life. And so I think anyone who says this stuff is woohoo bullshit, or it's like fluffy spiritual stuff, I don't agree with that at all. It's like, this is legit. This is how the world works. This is how us as human beings create our lives. And it's you need to understand this. You need to have awareness of it. You can't just ignore it, right? Because it's like back to what you were saying before. A lot of people have tried this stuff and it didn't work because they were focused on the wrong things. They were focused on the lack, right? And so that's why, I wanted to get you to repeat that, because that's the way you put that with the chair is that's incredibly important for people to understand. So yeah, man, did you have anything else you want to kind of touch on before we wrap this up?
No, I just wanted to say, if anyone is actually skeptical about this, that's okay. Be skeptical, but I would recommend you just try it. It doesn't take a lot of energy. It does take some mental habit building to keep yourself in this state, because we're naturally very conditioned with our current thinking state, the way we've been raised and everything. It's very easy to fall back into what's normal, but it doesn't cost you anything. It's not going to hurt you. It's actually going to put you in a good feeling state most of the time. So I recommend try it and let me know how it works. And I just want to give myself a little shout out if anyone does want help with that. I do offer 2 free calls for anybody who just wants to get a quick up me for these techniques. I can give you what you need to do it on your own. Obviously, if anyone wants to do work for a longer period, that's always an option. But within 2 calls, I can give you everything you probably need to get this done.
Bang, dude, I love that. So where can people find you, man? I'll obviously leave like you tag in Facebook and link to your Facebook group as well. But is that like the best place to find you? Facebook?
Best place to find me is on Facebook under Patrick Sean, or you can find me in my Facebook group, The Shaman Mindset. I'm also active on Instagram on The Shaman Mindset. It's a very new account. I'm growing it right now, but I will get any messages on there, and I'm happy for any engagement, any questions, or anything like that. Here to serve. So
Awesome, dude. I love it. It's all about that impact, right? Like I think like this stuff, man, like keep sharing this stuff, man, because it's impacting people's lives. It changes people's way of looking at the world and looking at life. And I think it's so important for people to start to learn this stuff. So, man, thank you for jumping on. I appreciate you taking the time out of your day. And yeah, I'll hopefully get some people in touch with you and change some lives, dude.
yeah, man. Thank you so much. Thanks for the time. And it's always good to talk to you, bro.
Yeah, no worries at all, bro.